I have talked about this opening many times before, and I think I made probably 2 or 3 videos about it, so I'm not going to get into any specific details. The opening is e4. I played this game recently with black pieces. The time was over 2 minutes with a second on each move. I responded with c5, and we have the d4 move that I have, like I said, mentioned before. And the idea is that after c takes d4, which is probably the best for black, I think, white can easily play d4. Even though a3 is the main move here, I think d4 is the most practical move. And the reason is, well, it's obviously very easy to understand, because now that black doesn't have a pawn on the c-file anymore, it's easy for white to just launch some kind of strong center immediately. So, but I believe that d5 is the best here. I think there are other moves, but d5 is probably the best. You can also play e6, for example, but d5 also opens up with this bishop on c8 to come to f5 or whatever, usually f5. My opponent responded with another very practical move. I think e takes d5 is playable, but again, e5 makes no sense in some way. But it turns out that e5 is actually the main move here. And after e5 I played knight to c6. Bishop f5 can also be played, but it doesn't matter, because I think I mentioned in my last video that, for example, there is no bishop b3 here because this d4 pawn is hanging. I was thinking about bishop f5 first, and then knight to c6. But the move order doesn't really make any difference, because obviously white is forced to protect his pawn on d4 anyway, which it did, bishop b3, and here bishop f5, bishop d3, just change it off like this, and then we play e6. E6 makes, well, it makes sense now that the bishop has not only come out, but it's also been traded off for the counterpart. I play let's see here. I played e6, knight e2, and here knight to e7, ge7, and well, there's no other good square for the knight. I believe there's only h6. f6 cannot be played, obviously, so knight ge7 makes no sense. And my opponent responded with knight g3, and the reason is, well, first of all, it's a more active square, but he's also, after knight g3, I cannot play this move, knight to f5. So if, for example, it is possible to play something else, I suppose. But I really believe that the main move here is knight g3. But let's say, for example, castles, then I could have played this move. So, knight g3. I played h5 here, which is not a main, well, it's not even part of any opening theory, I believe. And well, I don't know if it's very good, but it does force white to make a similar move himself, so he played h4. Well, okay, I don't know if it actually forces anything, but if he doesn't play h4, then I'm going to play h4, okay? And then I'm going to play knight to f5. So I think h4 is more or less forced here. So h5 went out of book immediately, and the main reason is that, well, first of all, I want to kick this knight away with h4, but I also want to play knight to f5. But I can't do that here, like I said, because if I play knight to f5 here, he can just take it off and I will lose a pawn. So h5, he played h4. And, well, I don't really have any good square for my knight. I don't want to go to c8 and b6, even though that's possible, I suppose. Then play knight to c4. But it's very slow, and also now that I've put the knight on e7, I probably want to go to f5 or well, in this direction anyway. But I suppose now that when I'm looking at it again, maybe I could have tried this, knight to c8, b6, and c4 perhaps. But again, it's very slow. So I went to g6. So I'm attacking this pawn, and he's not really attacking my pawn because my pawn is protected by my rook. And if I ever want to or need to, I can even put my bishop on e7. So he played f4, giving up his pawn. So it's a little bit dangerous to actually take the pawn on h4, but there's nothing there. I mean, when I take, like I did, my knight is now protected by my queen anyway. He played f5, so he made a little sacrifice, which obviously doesn't work because he missed blitz game as this was. He missed a check here. So after f5, he just loses his pawn. A second pawn, I would say. So knight takes g2 with check. Then we went to f2, and then I took the bishop on e3. If he doesn't take back, well, then he's obviously just going to lose a piece. When I give another check, followed by just protecting my knight. So he took back h4. It looks like I can't take the knight anyway because there's a rook hanging on h8. But the difference is that if he doesn't do something with his knight, or at least move his king, then I will just take the knight with check, and he will lose not only the knight but also possibly the rook as well. So king f1, queen b6. Again, I can't take the knight obviously because I have a rook hanging on h8. So queen b6 attacks the pawn on d4. So he played, okay, he made an in-between move. F takes c6. I took back. And the good thing is that he doesn't have a check anywhere. Not that it would have been the end of the world or anything, but I mean, it's good to take a look at that before you actually move. So he played knight e2, attacking his pawn. I'll play bishop e7. Bishop e7 stops queen to g5, for example, followed by queen g6 or something. And also, I can also play g5. So he played knight d2, just developing his piece. So he's not only still off a bunch of pawns, he's also behind in development. Here are castles. Maybe I could play g5 immediately, but I played castles. Even though the position looks very open, I still have my castling rights left. He played king g2. Obviously he wants to put his rook on f1. I play rook d to f8, rook h to f1, and here I played g5. Takes, and then he exchanged another rook, which is fine for me, since I'm up a bunch of pawns anyway. So I took it off, and now king takes f1. I play queen d8 because I want to get my queen into the game, and also my queen wasn't really doing anything over here, and this pawn on d4 is protected anyway. King g2. So his king is just bouncing back and forth all the time because he doesn't really have any good squares or moves. I played queen f8. So again, he makes a rather fundamental mistake because he's down a bunch of pawns and he's trading off pieces. So just okay, I'll play king d8, just an in-between move because my king wasn't really doing all that much. So he took my queen, I took back, and now obviously his idea is that he's hoping to win these two pawns, which is fine because my attack is more or less on the queen side anyway. So bishop e7, king h3, b5, king g4. It's all very slow. In the meantime, I'm kind of gaining space and time on the queen side. So I played a5, I took back, and now I have a pass pawn on the h5, so h3. So now he has to keep an eye on this pawn, and well, his king can't stop it. So the only piece that can actually stop this pawn is this knight. So I played. Okay, he played king to f6. He's also hoping to just, well, I don't know. I don't think there's a miracle in the world that will save him now. But his idea is that if I would play h2, he would immediately play knight to g3, but that would obviously drop pawn on d4. Then he played king to f6, and since there's no rush and this pawn is, well, it can't be attacked at this point, I also have a bunch of pawns on my queen side. There's no reason to just give up anything, so I play king d7, protecting my pawn. So now he just goes back and forth. So he's playing king to g5, and here I play h2, and now he's forced to use his knight, which was protecting the d4 pawn. So he had to play knight to g3, so I took his pawn on d4, king f4. I mean, this is absolutely totally hopeless. I can even play here at this point, this move, and just give up my knight with a check, so he takes, and then I can make a queen. But, you know, there's no reason for any of those things, so I just took another pawn. He's down so much in material now that it's just ridiculous. So I played a4, king g2, b3 he took, and then I just passed his pawn with a3, and there's no way to stop his pawn, obviously. I mean, for example, if he just goes over here, let's say, then I can just go here. This doesn't stop it, and this also doesn't stop it, so let's say just any move. Then I'll just make a queen. Wow, he wins the pawn. Okay, and then I'll just make another. Wow, yeah. Okay. So the last, I don't know, 10 or 15 moves of the game weren't particularly interesting, but I suppose the only interesting thing about this game, apart from just being some kind of entertainment, I suppose, is the opening again, b4, which is, I don't see very often. Okay, I don't play long games particularly much, but I think you will see this quite often in Blitz games. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I might get back in another video talking about the following opening. Let's see how it goes. Maybe we'll see them. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is it. The Trompovsky, I believe. So yesterday I played somebody. Even though, of course, I've seen this many times, my opponent played the move after knight to e4. He played h4, and this is actually something I've seen quite a lot of times. And so I want to talk about this in another video, how I usually play. It's very tempting to take the bishop immediately. I mean, you get a bishop for the knight this very early in the opening, but I don't think it's such a good idea. I think it's better to just stick to the main idea. So in my most recent game I played h6, which is perfectly fine. You can absolutely play that. But I think c5 is just the easiest, and something you will probably see the most, followed by d takes e5, queen a5, and so on.